What's going on, Audioholics? I'm Tyler from Audioholics Anonymous, and today I'm going to be starting a kind of different series from what we're usually doing here. I have recently started collecting vinyl within like the last few months, and I thought it would be cool to document my progress. And today I'm going to go ahead and go through all of the records that I currently have, and then from now on I will document all of my new additions, things of that nature. You'll have to excuse the terrible camera. It's all I have. I'll maybe upgrade at some point, but for the time being, it's really grainy and annoying, and I apologize for that, but that's just how it is. So let's get right into it. The first album I have in my collection here is the Yes album by, Yes. And it's a really good prog record. I'm actually kind of a big fan of this album. It's really good. And then I have Close to the Edge by Yes, and this is sort of it's a warped album. It doesn't play properly. I do need to get it replaced, but Close to the Edge is a really solid record. Definitely worth owning. And then I have Who's Next by The Who, which is a really good classic rock album. It's one of the only albums by The Who that I actually like. You know, it's got Bob O'Reilly on it. Yeah, it's pretty good. And also by The Who, I have Live at Leeds. This is, I don't own many live albums, but this is one of them that I do. It has Young Man Blues, Substitute, Summertime Blues, Shaken All Over, My Generation, and The Magic Bus. You know, all pretty good songs. I'm not huge on My Generation, but yeah, it's a song. Legendary live album, though, so that's why I own it. Next, I have one of my favorite albums, Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep. This is just a really good album. It's a really good classic rock record. You know, you got The Wizard, Traveler in Time, Easy Livin', Rainbow Demon. Great album. One of my favorites, personally. We have another one of my favorites, Warp Riders by The Sword. I'm just realizing this is actually mirrored. I'm not sure if I can fix that, but if I can, the next time around, I will do my best. Either way, Warp Riders. It's a really good metal album, doom metal, heavy metal album by The Sword. It's got some of my favorite tunes on it: Lawless Land, Strays, Brujas, The Warp Riders, Chronomancer 2, Nemesis. Fucking great album, guys. 10 out of 10. Really fucking good. Really solid. We did a podcast on that album. Very good. Next, I have Gods of the Earth, also by The Sword, which has another great amount of really good songs. Under the Boughs, Black River, How Heavy This Axe, To Take the Black is my favorite, The Sundering, Frost Giant's Daughter. A lot of really good tunes on this one. Again, doom metal, heavy metal, really good stuff. And then I have Styx, The Grand Illusion. I'm not a huge Styx fan, but I do enjoy this album. I like the concept behind it, of it being, you know, like a sort of loosely about how even when you're rich, you can be sad, you can be depressed, you can have all of these problems. It's a grand illusion. It's a really good album. Next, I have Can't Buy a Thrill by Steely Dan, which, of course, you would have seen on my best albums list, honorable mentions. I'm not really sure what's going on in this album cover. It kind of looks like gummy worms are flying around, just lips. It's really weird, but the music is very poppy. It's good. Big album on this one is Are You Reeling in the Years? Yeah, that's a good song. You know, but it also has Do It Again, Dirty Work, some really good shit on here. Good stuff. And I have Taken by Force by the Scorpions. This is probably my favorite Scorpions record. I love Entranced, Virgin Killer, all the early Uli John Roth stuff I really like. This one has Steam Rock Fever, We'll Burn the Sky, Riot of Your Time, Sails of Chiron. That's the big one everyone loves. He's a Woman, She's a Man is awesome. Really good stuff. Good neoclassical metal. Then I have Blackout, also by the Scorpions. Now, this is after the Yuli era, but this is still a really good album. You know, you have the self-title, you have No One Like You, you have China White, good stuff here. I'm a pretty big fan of this album too. Yeah, I would say it's probably a below all the Yuli albums for me, maybe above the debut. Also, the second album that they did, what is it like? Something with rainbows. That was a very forgettable album for me. This might be above that one, but really like this album. It's a good album. And we have the first Santana album I ever got in my collection. It's called Caravanserai. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. It's a pretty good Santana album. It's got, you know, Eternal Caravan of Reincarnation, Waves Within, Look Up, Just in Time to See the Sun, Song of the Wind, All the Love of the Universe. You know, some really good songs on here. Not my favorite Santana album, but it is up there, at least. I haven't heard all of the Santana albums. I've heard this one, I've heard Debut, and I've heard, I think it's called Moonflower. But I like both of those better than this one. I don't know if that's just this is one of the less good Santana albums or if it's just like those are the really, really good ones, you know? Either way, great album. Great album. I have kind of more of an obscure one, I think. Quicksilver. What about you? Or what about me, I mean. It's kind of an odd cover. It's I've never heard of this band before Logan actually gave me this record. Before I spun it the first time, and I gotta say it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable. Yeah, good album. And then I have the all-time classic, Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. Now this is a fucking great album. You know, you got Hair of the Dog, Miss Misery, Love Hurts, Beggar's Day, Rose in the Heather, Whiskey Drinking Woman. I mean, all those. Please Don't Judas Me. Come on, this album's classic. Gotta have this. And I have Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. This was my first album. It's definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. You'll see it on my top albums list. It's absolutely phenomenal. Who keeps texting me? Whoever it is needs to be quiet. Yeah, let me mute my phone. There we go. Okay. As I was going on about, next we have Kansas. Point of No Return. This is a really good album. You know, you have Left Overture, which is a really good album too. But this album has Dust in the Wind, Point of No Return. I mean, I think I actually like this album more than I like Left Overture, which might be a little bit controversial, but I do like both albums. Really good album. I mean, all the albums I own, I think, are really, really good because since I'm just starting out, I've tried to basically only collect albums that either I know are great or I've been told are great. I'm not really taking chances yet because there's so many albums that are around that you can buy that you know are great. Why take chances instead of just buying the ones you know are awesome, you know? So next I have Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East. This is a live album. Features Exciter, Sinner, Ripper, Running Wild, Diamonds and Rust, Victim of Changes, Genocide, Tyrant, Green, Menelashi with the two-pronged crown. I think I said everything. Genocide, Tyrant. Yeah, I think I said all of them. Great live album. Great live album. I've never been blown away by live albums, but this is one of my favorites. My favorite live album is coming up. It's you'll see it. It's a Blue Oyster Cult album. Really love this though. Really good. Really good. Okay. Next we have Jethro Tull, Songs from the Wood. I took a chance on this one. I had heard it's really good. I really like the back art, which is like a record player on a tree. I've heard this is a really good album, and I listened to it, and honestly, I think I like it more than Aqualung. I mean, I love Aqualung, but this album is really, really good. Thick as a Brick is probably my favorite Tull album, but this is definitely second place from what I've heard, which granted isn't much. I've heard this album. I've heard Thick as a Brick. I've heard Aqualung. Might be it, actually. I need to listen to Minstrel the Gallery. I've heard that's a really good album. I could have picked that up last time I was at the record store, but it was like $25. I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that on an album I've never heard before. I don't even know if it's good. I don't even know if I'll like it. So, yeah. Really, really good album, though. Songs from the Wood. And then, of course, Aqualung. I was just talking about that. Obviously, legendary album. Aqualung, Cross-Eyed Mary, Mother Goose, Locomotive Breath. So many amazing songs on this album. Not as heavy as you would think. It's a much more proggy album. Really enjoyable. I like it a lot. Aqualung, great album. Gentle Giant, Three Friends. I have this cover, and it continues in the back. It's like a bottom of the giant. And it also has, I think those are supposed to be the band members held in the hand of the giant. This is a really, really great Gentle Giant record. The next album I'm going to show you I like more, but this is still a great album, and I very much recommend it. The next one I have is Octopus. I have this version of the album. I was going to get the other version that, I mean, most people have, I guess, which would be the really cool, like, sea octopus album art, but I saw this one on sale for, I think it was like $10. Real cheap. 15 actually. And, you know, it's a really good album. Why stress about the art so much? Plus, this one's like actually shaped like a jar, which is really cool. Big fan. This is my favorite Gentle Giant album. You know, you got the Advent of Panurge, Raconteur, Troubadour, Cry for Everyone, Knots, Boys in the Band, Dog's Life, Think of Me with Kindness, River. Fantastic album. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Next, I have Frank Sinatra. What is this thing called? Love. It's kind of like a. I really wanted In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning, but I ended up getting this, and I didn't actually. I don't think it has all of the songs on the. It's like a gutted version, but it has some of the best ones, like the title track, Mood Indigo. I don't know. It's just what I got. So at some point, I'll probably replace it with the actual In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning. But until then, it's what I got. Next, I have the Doors' self-titled album. Obviously, a classic record. For some reason, the look on for some reason his name's escaping me right now, but on his face, Jim Morrison. That's Jim Morrison here. And the look on his face has always just kind of annoyed me. He's like, I don't know, it's just annoying. But irregardless of the album cover, the friggin' songs are amazing. You got, you know, Light My Fire, 20th Century Fox, Alabama Song, Soul Kitchen, Crystal Ship, Break On Through, Backdoor Man, Looked at You, End of the Night, Take It As It Comes, The End. Great, great songs on this album. Legendary album. Next, I have Believe by Disturbed. It's a picture disc. It's kind of a little sideways in the album right now. This is the back of it. I think that's like all the band members outlined. This is a really, really cool record. I've always loved this album. You know, Prayer, Liberate, Awaken, Believe, Remember, Intoxication, Rise, Mistress, Breathe, Bound, Devour, Darkness. Fantastic metal album. I know a lot of people may not love Disturbed, but I grew up with Disturbed. Disturbed was one of my favorite bands as a kid, and to this day, I still love Disturbed, and this is by far my favorite album by the band. Next, I have Dire Straits, which I think is just a self-titled album. This is the one with Soul Sons of Swing on it. It's a really good album. I'm not going to sit here and say that Dire Straits are my favorite rock band of all time. They didn't make the list, the top albums list that I'm making. For good reason. I think they've made a lot of great albums, but nothing truly masterful. It's all very flawed, in my opinion, from what I've heard. And this is one of those albums that I love to spin on vinyl because it sounds so much better on vinyl. But, you know, it's not mind-blowing, that's for sure. Really good album, though, either way. And next we have an all-time classic, Machine Head by Deep Purple. You know, this is the one with Smoke on the Water on it. It's got Space Truckin', Highway Star, Pictures of Home, Lazy. Like, this is a really, really good album. I've never been a huge fan of Deep Purple, but this one and In Rock are the two I would probably want to keep on vinyl because I love both of those albums. Really good albums. Chicago Transit Authority, one of the finest double albums ever created. Truly masterful experience of jazz rock. You got Question 67, 68, Listen. Does anybody really know what time it is? Beginnings. I mean, this album is just absolutely crazy, experimental. It's phenomenal. Love it. Love it. Love, love, love it. Great album. Next, Heaven Tonight by Cheap Trick. This is probably my favorite Cheap Trick album. If for no other reason, it has Surrender on it, which is my favorite Cheap Trick song. Call me a simpleton or whatever the case. Dream Police is a great album. I love a lot of Cheap Trick albums, but this is definitely my favorite. On Top of the World, California Man, High Roller, Taking Me Back, On the Radio, Heaven Tonight. I mean, these are just good songs, Good rock album. Really good rock album. And of course, I have At Budokan, Cheap Trick, which is one of the best live albums ever made, of course. Hello There, Come On, Look Out, Big Eyes, Need Your Love, Ain't That a Shame, I Want You to Want Me, Surrender, Good Night Now, Clock Strikes 10. Phenomenal live album. Lots of fun to listen to. Next, I have an album called On the Front Lines by a punk band called The Casualties. And the version of this album that I have is actually Saw Blade vinyl. Let's see if I can take that out to show you. It's a Saw Blade. Really cool. Really cool. I actually got this through VNYL service. It's a really good hardcore punk album. Yeah, just really cool. Really good. This is one of my favorite records. Boston. This album, I mean, what album can you say just has like all hits on it? It's More Than a Feeling. Peace of Mind is my favorite track. Foreplay / Long Time. Rock and Roll Band. Smokin'. Hitch a Ride. Something About You. Let Me Take You Home Tonight. This album is just fantastic. There's some prog elements in there. It's technically really good. It's just a damn good album, people. It's just a really fucking good album. Now we get to my favorite live album of all time. On Your Feet or On Your Knees by Blue Oyster Cult. Really, really good live album. Some really cool artwork. Really good set list. Subhuman, Harvester of Eyes, Hot Rails to Hell, Last Days of May, Cities on Flame, ME262, Red and the Black, Seven Screaming Dizbusters, Bucks Boogie, Before the Kiss of Redcap, Maserati GT, and of course, Born to Be Wild. Great fucking cover. I would say that, like, as far as the songs on this album, these are some of the definitive editions of these songs, in my opinion. The band goes on extended jams during the songs and changes, like, the solos, improv, all kinds of really fucking cool stuff on this album. Hugely influential to me. Really big fan of that one. The other BOC album I have is Cultosaurus Erectus. It's a really, really good record. Has some of my favorite BOC songs: Unknown Tongue, Lips in the Hill, Marshall Plan, Divine Wind, Monsters, Black Blade. Really good album. Really, really great 70s rock. Or actually, I think this came out in 80, so 80s rock, I guess. Next, we have Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is kind of like a band in the same vein as Chicago, at least in Chicago Transit Authority, kind of like, jazzy, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Not one of my favorite albums of all time or anything, but it's really good. Big fan. Next, I have Black Breath, Slaves Beyond Death. Really, really good album. Really good album. It's kind of like progressive death metal, I guess, is the best way to describe this band. I also got that one from VNYL. Next, I have Bushcraft. Bushcraft, I think, it's the self-titled album. It's again more of like a hardcore album. It's really heavy, but also pretty experimental. It's enjoyable. Next, I have Bad Company. Bad Company. This is, of course, the one with the song Bad Company on it. Can't Get Enough, Rock Steady, Ready for Love, Moving On. Really good rock album, very good blues rock. It's not my favorite album ever, but like I said, really good blues rock, definitely worth owning on vinyl. Next, we have Asia, self-titled, kind of progressive, kind of poppy. You know, you got Heat of the Moment, Soul Survivor, Time Again, Without You, really good album. Not my favorite Asia album. I think I prefer them later, but definitely worth owning. If for nothing else, the album art alone is really good. Next, I have another one that Logan gave me. April Wine, Nature of the Beast. I don't know if this is too obscure or not. I've never heard of these guys before, but this album is really solid. I'd describe it as like heavy metal. Came out, I think, in the 80s, maybe the 70s. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, really, really, really good album. I'm surprised I've never heard of it before. Next, we have Killer by Alice Cooper. Of course, you got to own some Cooper. What kind of fan of music are you if you don't own any Cooper? This album has Halo of Flies. It has Dead Babies. It has You Drive Me Nervous. It has Title Track. It has Under My Wheels. This is a really good album, guys. I think I prefer Welcome to My Nightmare a little bit more, but definitely one of my favorite Cooper albums. And I only have 2 left in my entire collection. The first being Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. This is the album with Walk This Way on it. The other big one is Sweet in Motion, but Toys in the Attic title track, No More, No More, Adam's Apple, Uncle Salty. Like, there are some really, really good songs on this album outside of the hits. And this is a lot heavier than you probably remember Aerosmith being, since, everybody remembers Aerosmith as like, the pop rock guys, but totally worth owning if you're a fan of like heavy blues rock. Totally worth it. And then, of course, Back in Black by AC/DC. I am kind of legendary in my disliking of this album, but I know people who really like this album, and I mostly got it for them. Back in Black, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill. I never really liked that one. Giving the Dog a Bone, What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. Don't like that one either. You Shook Me All Night Long is so overrated. Let Me Put My Love Into You is all right. Classic album either way, whether it's to my taste or not. The vinyl is a little bit messed up, as you can probably see here, and it's a bit scratched, but I mean, I got it for free, so can't complain too much. All right, guys, that is my entire vinyl collection up to this point. So in the future, I will record a update video whenever I, pick up a decent amount of new records. I mean, I might not film an entire video just for one album, but I mean, if it's an album I want to talk about and show you, maybe, but I'd say if I get more than 2 or 3 records, then I'll film a video updating you on my collection. All right. So I have been Tyler, and this has been Audioholics Anonymous. Talk to you later.